The former governor of Minnesota, the host of True TV's Conspiracy Theory with Jesse Ventura, the best-selling author. The new book, American Conspiracies, Lies, Lies, and More Dirty Lies that the government tells us. There you see its cover. We'll get to the book in a couple of moments. Always great to have him with us.
I did not agree at all with Iraq. I mean, they told us there were these 19 hijackers, Larry. Not one of them was an Iraqi. That would be the equivalent, in my opinion, of when the Japanese attacked us at Pearl Harbor. Well, we'll go attack Korea. After all, they're Asian too, aren't they?
Barack Obama, he's in his second year. How's he doing?
Well, he started off good, but I've been very disappointed lately, Larry, because number one, I feel he should have prosecuted for the torture. He let everybody off the hook on that one. I don't like that. I think that we have to be a country that stands by the rule of law even when it's inconvenient. And if I were president, I would be prosecuting right now all the way up the chain of command, whoever ordered all this torturing that goes on in Guantanamo and Abu Ghraib and all those places, because we should not be a country that is known that we torture prisoners and do that type of thing to gain intelligence, because you don't gain from torturing anyway. None of the intelligence is any good. Otherwise, they'd let police do it.
So you're saying torture in and of itself is ineffective?
Totally ineffective, because I've been waterboarded, Larry, so I know what it's like. And all you're doing when you torture someone is they're going to admit to anything to end the torture. That's why it has no credibility to it.
A recent Gallup poll showed that when it comes to approval ratings, Obama is the most polarizing first-term president in Gallup history. And I thought he was going to bring us together. What happened?
Well, I think it's more the polarization of these two political parties, Larry. They're the downfall of our country right now, and our country better start waking up and quit voting for Democrats and Republicans. George Washington, wait a minute, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and John Adams all warned us way back when. They said the fall of America would not come externally, it would come from internally when political parties took over the government. And it's clear today that these two political parties, they put their party ahead of the country, because they vote for their party first and the country second. And until this country wakes up and quits electing Democrats and Republicans to office to send that message, well, we're going to get that type of government then.
What then do you think of the American Tea Party?
I think they're kind of a laugh, because they're supposed to defend the Constitution and all this. Well, where were they when habeas corpus was being taken away? Because in our country right now, they can arrest you, they can hold you without charging you, they can keep an attorney from you. All they have to do is say you committed an act of terrorism, and they can get away with that. They've also destroyed the Fourth Amendment of illegal search and seizure. They might as well throw that amendment out, because they're listening to all our phone calls, tapping our email, doing everything they do. And where were these guys when all this was going on? See, I think this is just more of a right-wing movement to try to make it look like we're turning socialist or something.
We'll get into some of the specific conspiracies that Mr. Governor Ventura alleges.
By the way, Larry, let me correct you, and I don't do this often to you. I don't allege anything in this book. This book is all based on document facts. I may offer my opinion at the end of a chapter or the beginning of a chapter, but everything in between is all documented. You can go to the back of the book and see where we got it from.
One other thing of note politically, Sarah Palin, in addition to being a commentator on Fox, she signed a new book contract, going to be another book, and she's teamed with the Survivor producer, Mark Burnett. They're going to do a reality documentary series about Alaska, nature, and her family. What's your read on Mrs. Palin?
Well, it shows why she quit the governor. She wanted to cash in and make big money. It's that simple, you know. I wouldn't vote for her if she was the only candidate, because she's a quitter.
But you say that the Republicans and Democrats, as you're saying this, are in cahoots against ordinary citizens. In
Absolutely.
Cahoots how? How are they in cahoots?
It's, Larry,
they can't get together on anything.
No,
you say they're in cahoots.
Well, they'll get together when they need to. What happens with the Democrats and Republicans, Larry, is very much like pro wrestling, where in front of the camera and in front of the people, they despise each other, they're going to beat the hell out of each other and all this stuff. but behind the scenes, they're going out to dinner and they're cutting deals. Nothing will happen.
You don't think they're thinking about the people at all, the public?
Oh, they do as a sidelight, but they think about themselves first and their power struggle between the two.
Do you think the federal government has become so large and powerful it poses a threat to the rights and freedoms of ordinary people? 56% of Americans said yes.
Absolutely.
You say yes to that, too?
Absolutely, I say yes to it. The federal government has gotten so large now. Look at, Larry, what they just had in the USA Today paper. If you work for the federal government, the average salary is $7,000 higher than the private sector. Something's wrong with that, Larry, when you're making more money working for the government than you can working in the private sector.
The front of the book includes a quote from Einstein, who said, "A foolish faith in authority is the worst enemy of truth." According to Jesse, this says it all, and the American public needs to wake up. Now, among the conspiracies he writes about, the assassinations of Lincoln, JFK, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, RFK, he writes about Watergate, stolen elections of 2000, 2004, 9/11, and Wall Street. Why'd you write this?
Well, at first I didn't want to write this book, Larry. When the publishers came to me and wanted me to do it after the success of my last book, I didn't want to do it because I didn't feel motivated to do it. But then I thought it over for about a week. And I thought, you know, I've got to do this book because I want 100 years from now, when people look back at this time when we're all gone, I want them to be able to read and understand that not all of us, not everyone believed what the government said or what our, quote, history books talk about. Because it's very interesting when you get into all these conspiracies, how much documentation there is. And people can choose not to believe them, but I will tell you this book is a very good read, and it will entertain you because it's not like Tom Clancy or Vince Flynn, where they're making up stories and making up people and writing off, you know, their imagination. These are real people, and you can put names to faces in my book.
But you can be are you considered, though, a conspiracy buff in that you're so conspiracy-oriented that you believe nothing, that you question anything?
No, not at all. I don't necessarily believe every conspiracy that I write about in this book. I just tell the other side of the story, and documents back it up to where you still have to say, you know, there's validity to this. It may not be true, but it could be true. And if it could be true, it's dangerous.
Well, more with Jesse ahead. Should marijuana be bought and sold in the United States like liquor? Jesse's thoughts on that, lots of other things. The book American Conspiracies Don't Go Jesse Ventura. One of the book's chapters is titled Your Government Dealing Drugs. In a recent blog on the Huffington Post, you accuse the Obama administration of a staggering hypocrisy, your words, in continuing George W. Bush's so-called drug war policies. What do you mean?
Well,
the government is dealing drugs. What do you mean?
Well, it's a well-known fact that Iran-Contra, that they were running drugs in which to support the Contras down there in Nicaragua and all that stuff. The CIA's been doing it for years, Larry, because, see, if they can get their own source of money, then they can do things without telling Congress about it.
But how do you know they're doing it? How do you know that?
Look in my book, and you'll see the facts, and you'll read about how it led right to Ollie North's desk. You know?
Yeah, we know about Iran-Contra, but you're saying that you're talking about now. You're talking about you're accusing the Obama administration of hypocrisy. In what regard?
I'm accusing of hypocrisy in the fact that the war on drugs is a failure, a complete failure, and you're not going to win the war on drugs by putting people in prison because they use drugs. Let me put it to you this way, Larry. I grew up in the 60s, in the days of Jimi Hendrix, the Rolling Stones, the Beatles, and all that. To put this into the correct context so everyone can understand, marijuana was to rock and roll what beer is to baseball. Now imagine if they took away beer at the ball game. What an outrage there would be. And yet, people that want to smoke pot, they're breaking the law, they can't do it. And I'll tell you this, Larry, I've done both, and I've behaved far worse on alcohol than I ever have from marijuana. Alcohol
you would legalize
is way
it,
worse.
then You would
Absolutely.
legalize marijuana?
I would legalize it. I hope the state of California, it's on their initiative. 800,000 people have signed to put it on the ballot for total legalization. California can lead the way and legalize marijuana. They say it'll bring $1 billion into the California economy. Don't you think our economy needs that now? Instead of spending money to stop marijuana, let's spend money and tax it and get money from it.
This book deals with the assassination of JFK, Watergate burglars purposely bungling the break-in, electronic voting machines helping the Republican Party, whether or not 2 Boeing 757s could have brought down the Twin Towers. The government's 2008 claim that huge corporations are too big to fail.
It's not about justice. It's not about agenda. It's not about mobilizing people. It's about dialing for corporate dollars. These two parties have sold the U.S. government and the American people to the highest bidders.